Alright, so I continued to work on the yard. As of right now, I kind of dug out just a trench. Whew. What I realized was, instead of trying to take this whole mound out of the ground, I figured, oh, I could dig a trench first so I can have enough space to put the piles in, 4x4s or whatever I'm going to use, and I can build my retaining wall. So that way, the retaining wall will be set. It'll stop any dirt from falling down into the trench that I just dug out. And at a later time, I can cut the rest of the ground out and throw it on the other side of the fence instead of up on the hill. Threw it up on the hill because I wanted to make sure, as I started doing the layout for the rest of the hill, that I didn't have to come to the bottom of the hill to look for more dirt to fill in. So I figure it'll create a little bit more work for me right now and maybe a headache for me later, but at least it's one part of the equation that I don't necessarily have to worry about. I thought about getting workout equipment, but with as much work as I'm doing in the backyard, that's plenty of a workout for me right now, just me and a shovel. Not sure if you can really tell, but I dug it out as level as I could. It's pretty packed in at this point. Now I'm gonna see if I can get some more tools and material so I can start prepping and building the retaining wall. What I decided was I was gonna cut back into the hill probably about another foot or two. That way we can definitely make sure that the shed doesn't go over onto this concrete. We want to save as much hard surface as possible, which allows the optimum amount of space for barbecuing and other activities. Okay, so the shed is going to stop right here on 10 foot. So what we're going to want to do is dig back just another foot so we have the spacing necessary to drive our post. So we have the spacing necessary to drive our post in the ground. Now, if you follow me over here, I actually bought a few. I bought some 4x4 by 10 foot posts that have been pressure treated. So that should help it be resistant to the weather that we have here in Daly City. There's a lot of humidity, a lot of salt, a lot of water in the air, so that can corrode wood. So I figured if I got the pressure treated, that should help it last longer. Additionally, I had got a 2x12 by 10 foot long piece of pressurized wood. So this is what I'll be securing the wall with. I'm gonna get a couple of these. I just got one for now, so I can kind of get a layout of how far, how wide, how it's gonna come together. But this is the materials I'll be working with. This is the location that we're still working on. I realized that now I need to draw back my hill a little bit further, and then we'll be able to dig and start preparing for our concrete slabs to go in to hold the post in. Right now, I've gotten to the point where I feel pretty comfortable. I've cut out the area where I'm going to be laying it flat, laying down probably brick or concrete. Haven't decided on which direction I'm going to go with that. So what we have here, I measured it out, is at this point is roughly 11 by 11. So this is the type of wood I'll be using. This is a 2x12 by 10 foot long. So the stake that you see off on the left side, that's the indicator of where the 10 foot mark is. And beyond that 10 foot mark is where I'm going to put the 4x4s as I drive them into the ground. So you see where the 10 foot mark is, there's a little bit more space between it. I drove the other stake to kind of give me an idea if I have about 6 inches or so more from where the 10 foot mark is and where I can start putting my holes. It might be a little bit tight and I might need to pull back the dirt a little more, but for the most part I think this is where I want to stop at. As you can see from the neighbor's side, some of the hill I cut into a little bit, and I didn't want to go too heavy on that part because I didn't want to create a landslide or cause their foundation to deteriorate too much. Now from the looks here, from the fence all the way to the wall, you can see that it's about 14 feet long. I wanted to make sure that as I set the retaining wall, So from the fence all the way to my stake over here on the right is roughly 14 feet long. And with this piece of material that's 10 foot long, I noticed that I would have to probably cut some extra pieces and extend off of it. I want the far right side of it to look more clean, so I'll definitely pull it flush to the right and add any additional material on this left side, because it'll be harder to see what's going on back here, and the shed, once in place, will kind of cover up any thing that doesn't look as clean as everything else. So with that being said, I kind of marked off a distance of 10 feet away from where this concrete starts, and I've done it on both sides. Here's my other stake right here, and the next step at this point would be to create holes for my piles to go in, my 4x4s, and get ready to build the retaining wall. But ultimately, I'm pretty excited about the progress that I'm making, and I'm doing this pretty much all by hand, no machinery. Not paying anyone else to do it. I figure I'm gonna do the DIY. And in case I haven't said it already, I'm not a professional. I haven't had proper training other than probably a decade ago. I used to be a carpenter's apprentice, to be exact. But beyond that YouTube and a little Google search, I'm pulling this thing together to see how it plays out. One of the other things that I've marked out is we have this large stick here protruding out of the ground. That kind of marks roughly about 10.5 feet, almost 11, of where I may start laying holes for my piles to go into the ground. I didn't want to go too far into the hill, because next door neighbors, the hill actually protrudes higher and beyond ours, and I didn't want to have to put too much work in reinforcing that side and make sure it doesn't fall over. So if you give it a top-down view, you get a better idea of what I'm aiming for when it comes to where the door is going to start, the line that I'm trying to stay within from where I want the shed to come no further than, the scope and size of the shed, and where it's going to be placed. So with all this done, I'm going to start plotting out the holes where I plan to drill the holes at for the ground, for our retaining wall that's going to hold this hillside in place, and we're going to move forward with that. Taking a short break, what we currently have is where I'm now digging out the holes where I'm going to start driving my 2x or my 4x4s. If you see here, I dug a hole that's a little bit over 2 feet deep. Kind of just stuck the 4x4 in there to get an idea of how big it's going to look. And then over here, started on my other hole. I took measurements. I'm roughly starting about every 4 feet on center. I'm going to drive 4 of these 4x4s into the ground and pour cement around it. Some of the dirt I threw up on the hill, but I'm also going to leave a pile down here on the ground just to help like even it out. So once I dig about 2 feet deep for each of these 4 holes that I'm working on, I was going to measure it off, add some dirt to level it, try to make it pretty even. So that's where I'm currently at with my project. Losing daylight, but with all the work that I've been doing, I feel pretty warm, even though it's pretty overcast out here. So stay tuned for the next update, and we're gonna get this retaining wall put up.